guys, welcome to our third day of review before we start chapter 2. Today we are reviewing decimals, adding, subtracting, and multiplying and dividing decimals. These are skills you've learned in 6th grade or below, but we're going to review them today. Tomorrow we're officially going to start with chapter 2 opener, which is putting all these skills together and really getting a start on chapter 2. So, by the end of the hour, you should be able to do these 4 skills without calculators. No calculators allowed. You should have this handout taped, stapled, or glued into your notebook at this point. You should be really familiar with these handouts at this point. We've got adding and subtracting decimals. So I'll show you an example and you'll write it down in this box. Then you'll try one in this box. Then we'll move on to subtracting decimals. I'll show you an example. You write it down here. You try your problem in this box. And we kind of go through the guide here. At this point, you should know how to fill out these handouts. All right, so here's our steps, which is on your handout already. You don't need to write it down, of adding and subtracting decimals. The number one, super important thing here, guys, is to make sure that you are lining up your decimal places. So if the decimals are not right on top of each other, then you can't do the problem correctly. So make sure you line everything up and then add straight down, bringing the decimal straight down, or subtract straight down, depending on what type of math you're doing. Okay, so we're going to start here with 156.879 plus 34.23. You are copying this example down on your handout. So we have 156.879 plus 34. As you can see, my decimals are right on top of each other. My place values are right on top of each other, 0.23. What I can do here is I can add zeros in those empty spots just to help me kind of keep my decimals all in line. So now all I got to do is drag my decimal down. So I'm going to put my decimal right down here, and I'm ready to add. We've got 9 plus 0 is 9. 7 plus 3 is 10, so we carry the 1. 1 plus 8 plus 2 is 11, and we carry that 1. 1 plus 6 plus 4 is also 11. Carry our 1. 1 plus 5 plus 3 gives us 9, and then 1 plus 0 is 1, giving us the answer of 191 and 109 thousandths. Sorry, guys. So again, our answer is here. The biggest thing that you need to do is make sure you line up each one of those place values. So that's what I'm doing there in yellow, lining up my place values. The biggest mistake I see here is mixing up and adding the wrong numbers. Go ahead and you are going to try one on your own now. So try this one on your handout. All right, here's your correct answer. 526.443. Making sure you line up those decimals. So what I want you to do now, if you got it right, you are giving yourself a star on your handout. If you got it wrong, leave it blank. So then we can go back later and see, how am I doing? Did I get them right? Did I get them wrong? What's going on there? Now we're moving on to subtracting decimals, which is exactly the same, making sure you line up those decimal places. So we're going to start up here with 89.067 minus 5 making sure my decimals are lined up, 5429. So I see here that I've got some empty spaces. So I'm going to fill in a 0 above my 9 and a 0 above my 8, just to make sure everything's in line and I've got a number on top of a number. Now I'm ready to start adding. So 0 take away 9, I can't do. So I borrow from the 7, that becomes a 6. And my 0 here becomes a 10. So 10 minus 9 is 1. 6 minus 2 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Again, I'm back to a 0 minus 5. I can't do that. So I'm going to borrow from the 9, make that an 8, and my 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Bring down my decimal, bring it straight down. 8 minus 5 is 3. 8 minus 0 is just 8, giving us the answer of 83.5241. Borrowing is a huge skill you learned in elementary school that at this point you should know. Right? So again, lining up your decimals, making sure everything is a number and then a number, a number and then a number, number then a number. Go ahead and you try this one on your handout. Trying this one right on your handout. Pause the video to give you more time. Okay, let's check our answer for this you try. We've got 253.46, making sure you lined up those decimals correctly. Now we're moving on to multiplying decimals. Multiplying decimals is just like multiplying whole numbers. You actually are going to completely ignore the decimal at first. Then you just multiply the digits like there was no decimal at all, long multiplication. However many decimals were in your, or numbers behind the decimal point in your question is how many numbers your decimal will be behind in your answer. Okay, so let's try this one. So we're going to ignore the decimal at first, and we're just going to do 8906 times 54. Okay, so we're going to first start with our 4. 4 times 6 is 24, carry the 2. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 4 times 9 is 36, carry the 3. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is 35. All right, I am done with my 4, so I'm going to add a placeholder here. Now I can move on to my 5. 5 times 6 is 30, carry the 3. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. 5 times 9 is 45, carry my 4. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 4 is 44. And what I can do now with these digits is I am ready to add them. We've got 4, 2 plus 0 is 2, 6 plus 3 is 9, 5 plus 5 is 10, carry the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 4 is 8. Nothing, and a 4 creates our 4. So we're not done here. We've got to figure out how to place our decimal. So I'm going to do that in pink here. I have in my question 1, 2 numbers in that number behind the decimal, and a 1 behind the decimal in 5.4. So really, that's 1, 2, 3 numbers behind decimal places in my question, which means there needs to be 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal in my answer, giving us the final answer of 480.924. So again, hopefully, as I did this example, you were like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this, and you can do them on your own now. If you can't, then you need to put in some extra time tonight to review your decimals. Go ahead and you try this one in your notes. Pause the video to give you more time. Let's check our answer. 183.395. And you can see here that there's 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal in your question. So 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal in your answer. Let's go ahead and move on to our last skill for the day, dividing decimals. So with multiplying decimals, we dealt with the decimal at the end. We ignored it and dealt with it when we were done. But with dividing decimals, we actually deal with the decimal first, and then we divide like long division like we've done forever. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to move the decimal in our divisor first. We move the decimal in our dividend the same amount. The biggest thing there is they have to match. Once we've shifted our decimals over, we can slide that dividend decimal straight up. Then we can divide. So let's go ahead and look at an example of that. So 89.06 divided by 5.4. First, we need to set up some long division. So we have 89.06 divided by 5.4. All right. So we're going to start with our decimals. We're going to move this decimal in our divisor one out. And this time it's only one, but if there were two numbers after the decimal, you'd move it 1, 2 times out. Okay, so again, you move your decimal as far over as it can get. Then the decimal in our dividend moves the same amount. So the number on the that we're dividing by could only shift once. So then the decimal in our dividend only shifts once as well. Then we can slide it straight up into our answer. Now we're really just doing 8,906 divided by 54. The decimals are gone. We've shifted them over and slid it up. It's all gone now. So now we can do that long division here. So 54 does not go into 8. 54 does go into 89 one time, which is 54 with 35 leftovers. And you might need to do a little guess and check when dividing decimals. 54 goes into 350. I don't know how many times. So I'm going to do a little guess and check over to the side here. So 54, I don't know, let's say 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. I think we could fit one more in there. So we'll do our long division here again. So 54 6 times, let's see what that would be. Well, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 2 is 32. 324, there we go. So if it's in there 6 times, which is 324, we got to do some subtraction here. And I'm going to find out that I have 26 leftovers. And I can carry down my other 6. So now I need to see how many times 54 fits into 266. Again, I may need to do some guess and check, and that's okay. Well, in my example, I found that 54 fit in 5 times was 270. So I know this is going to be 4 times here. So 54 times 4 gives me 216, which gives me 50 leftovers. I'm going to add a 0, bring it down. 54 is going to fit into 509 times. And again, I might have to do some long multiplication over to the left, and that's okay. So 54 times 9, that's going to give me 36. 45 plus 3 gives me 48. 486. And to save us some time, I'm going to tell you that this is going to keep going and keep going and keep going. The ones on your homework are going to be a lot nicer than this one. So 16.49, you're going to end up getting a 2 after that, and it's going to keep going and not in a nice pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and say you can stop at 16.49. 2 decimals would be acceptable for this. Let's go ahead and you try one as well. I'll tell you right now, this one's a lot nicer than the one we just did. So go ahead and you try this one in your on your handout. And let's check our answer. 39.7 is our answer for this one. It's really important that if you struggle with long division, that you get practice, because this is long division. Dividing with decimals is long division. You still have to have that skill. And all we're doing in chapter 2 is we're going to make one of those a negative, maybe both of them a negative, but some of these numbers are going to be negative. So you need to know how to do them with positives in order to successfully do them with negatives. So you learned 4 skills today, or not learned, we really just reviewed them. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So I want to do a quick check here before class ends, and I want you to go through these 4 questions, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and see how you did. Do we know these 4 skills? Yes or no? So we're going to pause the video here for you to try all 4 of them. Alrighty, at this point, you should have tried all 4 questions. If not, don't move on, pause the video again, but we're gonna check our answers. So here are the answers to all 4. Basically, what this tells you is there a certain skill I should go home and practice a little more tonight? Is it all the skills? Did I miss all of them? Or was it just one? Or did I get all of them correct? This is really your self-check. How am I doing? Because tomorrow you are going to have an assignment with fractions, like mixed to improper, fractions to decimals, that day 1 that we did, the gold paper that's in your notebook. Day 2, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions. That's the pink handout. And day 3, today's blue handout, everything with decimals. Your assignment tomorrow is going to cover all of that. So, got to make sure you feel pretty confident with these skills going into tomorrow.